So, the only thing we're going to be reviewing today is the film Longlegs. We did a non-spoiler review already. I did it with Dusk. We discussed it, and we try to do our best not to spoil kind of much about this movie. It's best to go in as vague as possible. I think, not knowing much. I didn't really know that much. I knew Nicolas Cage would be in it, but I didn't know what role he was kind of maybe playing there, what they were going to really do with him. In the marketing, they kind of keep him hidden away.
Yeah.
Um, and so I did kind of like that. And the marketing in this film and the word of mouth of this film is really boosting this movie up heavily and really causing, I think, a lot of people to go see it and a lot of it to break records. So right now, as of today, so this is an article here. It says here, Longlegs delivers the biggest opening ever for Tom Quinn's Oscar-winning indie outfit, Neon, who Neon is the one that distributed the movie. They're the ones that did that. It says among other milestones there. Of course, Despicable Me 4. I mean, hey, people
Crushed it. Yeah.
I mean, crushed it because everybody loves those minions. I mean, hey, and Despicable Me 4 probably will either come close to a billion or, probably make about a billion, probably, like most of these other Despicable Me movies have.
Damn.
But I mean, great for Neon's Longlegs that was only projected to make about like probably 9 million this weekend. So that was a great score and win for this film. But yeah, I want to have Mike on. He's a big horror guy, into a lot of horror. There's some people saying this is the best horror movie of the year. This is the scariest movie of the year. I already gave my thoughts on it. I gave it a peak, was my rating. Mike, what is your thoughts and rating for Longlegs?
I really, really liked it, especially, and I think I am in the bracket of people who like as it goes on, it travels. As Josh mentioned, we are doing a spoiler review, so spoilers for this one part, but the slow kind of reveal that there's more of a supernatural element at play, but it also just being such a blunt, horrific, just inescapable thing, and just how this movie was shot. This and In a Violent Nature have been my favorite shot movies of the year. In a Violent Nature mainly because of its choreography and I respect a slow burn movie like that. I respect that movie to just keep to its artistic vision. This is just if you just want to dine on the cinematography of this and just look at the background. This is a movie that I know a lot of people are gonna watch again and just look in the background because there's an incredible wide shots. So he's just is there someone out there? What's going on? And there's plenty of details throughout the movie. A great performance by what's the lead actress again?
Micah Monroe.
Micah Monroe, who gives a very kind of I guess kind of the best way to describe it would be almost like a church mouse performance. Someone incredibly nervous and shy and just feels that they're just in incredible danger, and this woman looks like she might just break down at any moment. And as a FBI informant, especially as an FBI agent, as a woman, she's having this incredibly dangerous life, and she looks even when she sits right next to a child on their bed, she looks physically small. And yeah, and it's a incredible as of course great actor overall, but also Nicolas Cage gives a very great kind of shocking performance for him. I don't think he's really done a character like this as a serial killer kind of character, like a John Doe from Seven, but also portraying him as kind of how more serial killers would be in real life, of just incredibly unstable and just gets away with it just because of his violent nature and just almost unpredictability. But and he just incredible prosthetics and makeup that's on his face. And as the movie goes on, the middle does drag a bit for me. The ending was one of my favorite horror movie endings in a long time. It reminds me a lot of the 60s to 70s satanic panic, especially Rosemary's Baby. I got a lot of those vibes from this movie. I'm just kind of curious if that if that was an influence on him.
Mm.
Because Silence of the Lambs just seems like a massive influence with this, even with how the how Micah talks in this of the like almost kind of like southern kind of drawl she's got. But yeah, overall a very solid movie that I would love to watch again when it comes to streaming.
Yeah. You talk about the inspirations of this movie. Silence of the Lambs is obviously one big one that you can see here with the Lee Harkin character that Micah Monroe plays. And Micah Monroe, I mean, looking at her resume, a great resume. I mean, other horror movies that she's been in. So she was in It Follows, which I wasn't too huge on. It Follows. I think it's
Yeah.
okay. I wasn't really.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was too amazing. I know a lot of people really loved that movie when it came out, but I wasn't really too crazy about that movie. But I thought it was all right. That came out 10 years ago. And then also she was in The Guest, which came out 10 years ago. That's the movie with Dan Stevens. I've heard a lot of great things about it. I heard it's a really great thriller.
Is David Hyde Pierce in that movie? Or am I thinking of something else?
No, he's not in
No?
this movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm thinking of a different movie. I haven't seen this one.
Yeah, and she was also in the movie called Villains there. She was also in a movie called Watcher and Significant Other. And so she's mostly known for doing horror movies. Kind of a scream queen there.
Mhm.
And I kind of tweeted, I was like, maybe we should be talking about her the way we're talking about Mia Goth. Mia
Yeah.
Goth is getting a lot of attention for things like X and Pearl and now Maxine. But maybe we should talk about her. I mean, she's got a great resume of kind of horror stuff kind of going on here.
Yeah. She kind of does a. This isn't me. Oh wait, yeah, I've seen Watchers again. That's the one where they go to Romania. Uh, but yeah, that's a really good movie. You could probably cut out the last 10 minutes and rename the movie Karen, just like from the what goes on in that movie. But yeah, Micah, I think she kind of has an advantage over Mia Goth in some aspects because uh, I'm not sure where she grew up in America, but she kind of nails that accent a lot more than Mia Goth when it comes to like what she's doing, like
So she was
Pearl.
born in Santa Barbara, California.
Okay, so like that can be kind of close to like more rural area where this might be more country, like especially like religious people. So yeah, Mia Goth, it kind of sounds like she's putting in the voice when she's doing Pearl, which is it's fine. She's doing an accent, but yeah, I really liked Micah's portrayal of this FBI character.
Yeah. And do they ever say where they are in Longlegs? I don't think they do, right? The
No,
location.
I imagine the Midwest, just because this just kind of seems like something that would happen in the Midwest during the 90s.
Yeah. And this place takes place 1999.
19. Okay.
And you have the character Micah Monroe who's playing the woman, the actress Micah Monroe who's playing the character Lee Harkin, very much like Clarice Starling. I mean, a lot of comparisons can be drawn there. We talk about inspiration, Silence of the Lambs, also Seven seems like
Of course.
inspiration. Also something like Hereditary. Also something like maybe Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is kind of maybe also there as well. Some of the investigation element of it. You also have that. And
Hereditary was. I'm sorry. Did you mention Hereditary?
yeah, I mentioned
Okay.
Hereditary.
Yeah. Especially with how the final twist at the end is like, oh no, it's actually supernatural.
Yeah, and you see kind of the way the movie kind of plays out, and we'll talk about it about the ending there. You saying you're a fan of it. That's where it kind of maybe lost me a little bit. I still was on board with it, but it just made me kind of was like, I don't know.
I see that. I can see this ending definitely like throwing some people off, and people like not want like I don't think it's like a invalid reason to dislike it, but I can totally see why this movie might kind of like cause some division with some people during the last third.
Yeah. So you see at the kind of the movie the way it plays out. You see it's kind of your traditional, well, not really traditional all that sense, but you see that it's a FBI agent, and they're hunting a serial killer. At first, when the movie starts, you see that her character has somewhat of a keen insight, keen kind of instinct of things, and when things are off kilter. So it opens up really well of them on the manhunt for actually another serial killer, and then her partner dies in the attempt to get this other serial killer. She's able just to look at one house and go like, it's that house, it's
Yeah.
that place, that's where the person is. The tension and atmosphere, I mentioned this in my review, is amazing. throughout the entire movie, what they're able to do and build that whole up. Like I wasn't really able to guess what was gonna come next, so I was afraid of what was gonna be coming next, around the as throughout watching the movie, and throughout it, yeah, they're on this, and then because of her, work on this case at the beginning of the film, catching this serial killer, she gets assigned to catch Longlegs, who is the serial killer Nicolas Cage plays, and the case is kind of stalled right now because the way he does, these crimes, they don't have no way to connect him to it. Most of these seem like family murders where the husband, he's becomes the family annihilator, kills the wife, kills the child,
Mhm.
then ultimately kills himself. But then there's always the cryptic message that Longleg leaves at the scene. So people are like, "How is he able to do this? What's going on? Who is this Longlegs?" She gets assigned to the case, and her supervisor, who puts her on the case, is Blair Underwood, who was also really good
Oh
in this
yeah,
movie as well. I mean, everybody's really good overall. What do you think about the cast?
very good compact cast. I think I can see kind of like one kind of criticism of because this movie has like only so many characters in it. There, there's only like, well, who can it be? Probably one of the only other like two characters in this movie, unless they want to like introduce someone at the last third. Uh, but yeah, it kind of became a bit obvious of like who the other uh, who was helping Nicolas Cage's character Long Legs in this movie with his schemes, machinations. Um, but cast is great. There is maybe one like actor who's like he's just in one scene that kind of threw me off. It was the guy where they go in to check in with the the mental asylum, the
Mm.
and he's like he runs it, and he was talking about like someone came in to check with there, but he played it like very comedically.
Yeah.
where for that part kind of threw me, but also just even the one-off characters we meet like like the little girl who talks with Micah in this for like a good. She has like a 3 minute monologue and like really impressive stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
Kieran, Shipka. She
yeah.
was in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Oh.
Uh, she was also, she had a voice role in also The Legend of Korra as well. She was the daughter of Tenzin. She was one of
Okay.
the voices.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah. So that was the girl there,
Mhm.
who's playing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
one of the survivors of
Mhm.
Longlegs, you have there. So, yeah, you talk about as kinda dark as this movie is, as grim as it gets, there are some moments of humor, in
Mhm.
it as well, especially the stuff with Lee Harkin, and her interactions with people.
Mhm.
I guess you could say she's somebody maybe on the spectrum to a
Maybe.
degree.
Maybe
Uh,
it's magic. Maybe it's not.
yeah,
Who
maybe
knows?
it's just the effect of being connected to a
Yeah.
Satan-possessed doll, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's so
This movie has a lot of strengths in the uncanny valley of like as we talked about like the doll in this like it's one of those things that looks kind of lifelike but not lifelike enough that just kind of rubs you the wrong way, and that's the same thing with like off like the way like when we see Nicolas Cage's room in this as well as like Nicolas Cage himself, it's like it's close enough to something you get and something you're familiar with, but it's just like there's something just wrong with it, or even just like the Micah's her home with her mother, her incredibly religious mother, is just like something's just a bit off. Like it just feels like, oh yeah, this is a home, but it's like it's a bit too compact to the point where she always feels uh like like she's being like suffocated almost.
Yeah, because her whole when you look at, because also the movie deals with a lot of talking to her mother, who's played by Alissa Witt here, and so when she goes home, you see her childhood home, and it's just cluttered with all this stuff, like just
Yeah.
kind of like a hoarder. Like if you ever see one of those like episodes there of Strange Addiction or Life of the Hoarder or something, it's like just down the stairs in the rooms that just filled with all this stuff, and it just kind of clutters up the space. And what the camera work does in a lot of scenes too. Like when she's at the library when she's doing research, like it just makes her feel so isolated and alone. When she's kind of looking at the crime scene photos, there's a lot of that. When she's just home by herself, I think a lot of the camera work and the cinematography does a great job of adding on to the horror aspect of the movie as well. What do you think about that?
Yeah, yeah. I think just how it's shot is just one of the most. impressive things about this movie, but I think also that just makes the last third kind of so much more devastating to me when all the twists are revealed, and then like we see Micah uncover all this stuff, but like it's like she almost doesn't have time to recover because she just has to power through it. It's like it's almost like a body blow to her. Like each twist is like being punched in the face, and she's like, "Oh, I can't get that. I just have to get to that family." And it's like, "Oh, I'm in the car. Oh no, the car's here." It's like everything's just revealed, and it just like it makes her feel just fucking awful and just gross. And I am curious if David Finch was ever an influence on her, not just Seven, but also have you seen Mindhunter?
The show on Netflix, I have
Yeah,
not seen it.
it's a great show. Yeah, it gives me a lot of Mindhunter vibes, especially with how long the shots will like just hold and how uncomfortable it can get, and as well as like especially with how it represents serial killers in this, because serial killers in Mindhunter are either like just an everyday dude who just kind of looks kind of dopey, who you won't think twice across when walking the street, or someone who just looks like, oh, this guy just has like something off about him vibe wise. Like, they smell, or they're like super mentally unstable, and just like, oh, this guy should probably be in the home, or like, or they're just like, they just feel like uh they might like just lash out if like just provoked the wrong way.
Mm.
And also the after effect, which we see, uh maybe we see a long after effect of like one of the murders in this movie where uh he Blair lifts up the sheets to the bed and reveals the family was actually there for like maybe a month, and you just see like the maggots just eating them, and just like the decay and grossness in that. And it's like it just makes it so much more like both like offensive to Micah, but also just like painful that like this has been going on for just so long. Like he's just out there.
Yeah. I mean, you see that. I mean, you see with these kind of cases and kind of these brutal murders, which they do show some of them in the movie here. So when the movie, the twist, I guess you could say in it, you think it's like, okay, your setup of your, FBI agent is tracking the serial killer, trying to hunt them down. But you're trying to figure out throughout because it's not really a mystery who's doing the murders. You know who's doing the murders. It's just about how they're doing the murders.
Yeah,
And the
because
big reveal of how they're doing the murders, Nicolas Cage's character Longlegs, is that so he creates these dolls, and then inside of the dolls he puts like this orb that's has possessed, I guess, by the devil, has devil magic in
smoke.
it, then puts it inside it, and then Allison Witt, who's Lee Harkin's mother, she was tasked with delivering the dolls to these people's homes, to the family's homes, and the family's always involved having a daughter. They always had to have a daughter,
His birthday
and
is June 14th.
June 14th, yeah. So yeah, June 14th, because it was the 6 days. It would have to be 6 days. What after the ninth?
Yeah,
So it has that to do that to form a what do you call it, the pentagram or
yeah. It's making like an algorithm thing. It's like 'cause there's a lot of old Bible talk in this kind of stuff. So
so she was tasked of delivering these possessed dolls to families dressed up as a fake nun, dressed up as a nun there because who wouldn't trust a woman nun here? And obviously if he did it, Nicolas Cage, I mean, people wouldn't take a doll from his creepy ass.
yeah,
So she does that, and then the doll instantly like it radiates evil demonic energy to the family, and then something snaps in them, and then the father goes and kills the family, and then that's how the murders happen. And then Allison Witt, who's the mother, she's tasked with also watching the murders happen. So so she knows that the job was complete. So for decades, she's been doing this, and the reason why she's been doing this is to keep her daughter safe. Because if she didn't, then Longlegs would have killed her daughter, and then also killed her as well. So she did that as a bargaining agreement, made a deal with the devil.
yeah. I think that's kind of like the implication of like because Nicolas Cage is lined with like the devil and stuff like that. So like in some way, where she's like, "I'll do anything," like that's her basically pact with the devil, and there's some kind of like restraint or just fear of her, like if I don't do this, my daughter will just die.
Yeah. So that's the reason she's been doing so. And then all this time they've been hunting for this guy, and the guy had been living inside, underneath, like in the basement of Lee Hartman's family home. And his car was there. He was living under, in the basement, making the dolls, everything like that. The mother was helping. That's the big reveal. That's
It,
where I think that I can see maybe why it would kind of lose some people there a
do
little
you think it can be kind of like Barbarian, of like in Barbarian, there's the old man living like downstairs in the basement for like 10 years, and making like weird monster baby stuff and shit like that.
bit. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, that's kind of like it's very out there. But there have been like cases of actual serial killers who have like, or just creeps in general, just living in someone's house unknown for years, like in the basement. But like just thinking about it is just so like you can't even imagine it. That like it's just like it's hard to wrap your head around when it's in fiction.
Yeah. That does happen. Yeah. There are, I mean, cases of people who live in like the crawl space and everything like that. And when
Hmm.
you go home, when you go to work, they'll come out and like eat your food in your refrigerator. Or, and we hear about cases of, women who do get kidnapped, and then they keep them there for decades and have
Yeah,
children with them, and, all this other stuff, you know what I mean? And then they finally get free.
it's a bit
Um,
out there, definitely. Uh, Even like that old John Carpenter movie of like the people who lived under the stairs in like a house and stuff like that. I'm trying to think of it, but yeah,
yeah.
I don't think anyone's like wrong for not like that movie, or like if like I don't want to say like it's just a casual thing, but I really like that. I think it's kind of a it's definitely more reminiscent, more kind of like 60s, maybe even like early 70s like horror, where it's more cerebral. There's less of like a big like explanation or stuff like that. It doesn't go too in depth of like the lore or like how some like the mechanics of it work. It's just like how does Nicolas Cage like actually know the devil? Doesn't matter. It just does it.
Yeah. And I like this movie. I liked Barbarian.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I thought it was good. It was also, I think this came out, what, a couple,
2022.
yeah, I think a couple years ago. I think this movie
Yeah,
came out. And
kind of remind me of. Oh, go on.
it was also another case of like a surprise movie, because this also came out as the same year as Terrifier 2, right?
Yeah,
So it was a case of like word of mouth generated. People went to go see it. It's like, hey, have you checked the Barbarian? This is actually pretty good. So that was another case of that. I don't like also some of the stuff they do with kind of, because if you know what happens in the movie, the mutant kind of creature, and then it's kind of superhuman, and I'm just like, okay, where are we kind of going
a
with
bit.
this a
It
little bit?
does. Yeah, it does kind of shift a bit, but I kind of view Barbarian as like kind of a better version of. Have you seen Men by Alex Garland?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and that's because Barbarian's kind of about like gender dynamics and relationships and stuff like that, and like kind of like the potential like unknowing like kind of like sexism in relationships and stuff. And it's also stuff about like kind of like toxic masculinity and like rape culture with the American Pie actor's character. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I Bed was just like it was just too broad. It was just like, oh, we're covering all the sexism and all the stuff women go through. It's like, okay, well, you kind of don't really cover anything.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of also the same issue I had with Alex Garland with Civil War.
Civil War, yeah,
Same issue. So Longlegs, it getting, so that being kind of the reveal of that, it's basically the devil. The devil's doing it, basically. I've seen that in a lot of horror movies. That something like Hereditary, like you mentioned, that the twist is it's the devil. It's
well, in Hereditary it was Paimon who's like a demon lord. He's not the top guy. He's just a devil.
he's just like the supervisor,
Pretty
kind of
much.
in
Yeah.
hell. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Middle manager.
Yeah. It's like why not go for the top? Why not make it the big man himself?
And
uh,
also a lot of like occult stuff is
mhm.
also, that's always like the big bad in horror movies. I feel like now the devil, occult stuff like
Yeah.
Midsummer, is like that as well. Do you feel like you've seen a lot of that in too much in horror movies, like the devil, occult type stuff as being the main villains? And
A bit, but the thing is, I find it to be more of like vague enough in a lot of the stuff, or like when it is like more, they say like, oh, it's like the devil possessing her, or like like a lot of possession movies now that tend to be like they actually use the devil. It's very like it's almost comedic, like it's like a bit schlocky. It's like stuff of like was it like the Pope's Exorcist with
mm,
Russell Crowe, or stuff like Malignant, or the found footage horror movies,
p
Paranormal
Criminal
Activity.
Activity, yeah.
Yeah, those are bits shocking. In Midsummer, it's not technically the devil. It's like they're dealing with is a very specific cult in like a Norwegian like culture or
Mm,
Swiss culture, and it is technically a thing. But I don't think I really hear the term Satan too much when it comes to like a movie like this, like a movie that's so like auteur to a degree, and like the because I think we're kind of at a level where you mentioned the name Satan. It's almost like comedic.
mhm.
uh,
It's almost like you think of what the South Park
yeah,
scene.
yeah, a bit. Or yeah, or he's been in so much stuff. It's like, oh yeah, was it is it Satan's Wonder House or whatever?
Mhm.
Or yeah. But also there was one like maybe my favorite shot in this movie was with the shadow of the devil himself, when it was we see a very young Micah, and we just see like the mother's monologue of like what was happening, and just like the slow fade of that, it just looked incredible to me, of just how like it almost looked like he was wrapping around her, just growing. It's interesting because you never really see him, uh like you don't see a full image of him. Also, yeah, Late Night with the Devil, that's not the devil either. That's another demon lord thing. It's like a
Mm,
high priest.
okay. So they were lying in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, um, so I just yeah, I see a lot of kind of some of the times the occult kind of stuff pop
Mhm.
up there. So I was like, okay. I mean, so I can understand why it may lose some people there just in the supernatural direction that it took.
Definitely.
And then so you kind of learn from that also reveal that the reason because some people think she's kind of psychic, maybe has this like the because she has this connection with, I guess,
Yeah.
this demon lord, this demon spirit, that it's also given her these psychic, abilities to hunt down other crazy fucking people and, evil people, I guess, there in the world. So it's kind of given her ability to do that. Um, and then so you see that at the end of the movie, that all gets revealed. She realizes that her mother is the person helping Longlegs there. Her mother kills her partner, the partner that drives her to her home, and her mother wants to still do one, I guess, one last one there because so if she did that one, would that have been the last one, or would she still continue to do it even though Longlegs at this point had been captured and dead already?
I think
So
she would have tried to do some kind of bidding, uh, or just like maybe she would think it's done for now, but she would still be like kind of in her mind. She'd always be like in the devil clutches, because when she tells that story to her daughter about why her daughter's safe, and all her like uh, that she mentions that like Long Legs is building the doll and all that stuff. It's like it's an arrangement between them. I think she thinks that like when she dies, she's gonna go to hell. That's like she's kind of like protecting her daughter in like a weird way. I'm not sure how she would have tried to continue her work. Uh, if she would continue her work after Long Legs' death, I think
probably not, because he was the
yeah,
one making the doll.
yeah,
He was the one
and
making
she did do it under kind of like fear of death. So
yeah.
yeah,
And then she shoots the doll that Longlegs had initially created
yeah,
for Lee Harkonnen, and
and a
then
bunch of
yeah,
smoke goes out of it.
yeah, the demon vape goes out of it, there. So she kinda, I guess, loses her psychic ability connection, I guess, there.
Maybe, yeah, it's kept vague enough to be like, well, what is this? Is this actually a doll that like does it controls her, or was it almost like did that like almost like emit like a toxic fumes in the air and just like knocked like was it too much energy or something?
Yeah. So
I
why did
think
she shoot the doll? It was
I think she was just like kind of sick of seeing it and like was kind of freaked out by it. Uh, yeah. I think that also might be something that kind of bothers people because in the beginning it does portray things as like so. Oh, it could potentially be supernatural, but also could it be supernatural with stuff like her, like how good she is of like passing all these tests and finding all these crazy people. Like she might have just guessed. Like to be honestly, if like she might have just been like, "Oh, I just get like a weird vibe from that house." There could have been potential like, "No, he's not there." And when she does that whole test, they mention she got 8 of them right. She also mentions, "I got 8 of them wrong though too." So
So it's like 50-50.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess so I don't know when she shoots the doll, does she already know that Longlegs is dead? Like, she already feel that he's dead already? And then the thought like, well, since he's dead already, then I can finally destroy the doll that's attached to my daughter. Because like the doll is almost seems like a tether to the person that the little girl is based on. Because like you saw with Kieran Sumpkin, she was in like in a catatonic state at the mental institution, and then when they brought the doll, because the doll initially was trapped in her home and buried underneath there, and then when they got it out, that's when she snapped out of it, and then that's what she was able to do with it. So I guess the doll is tethered somehow to the person.
Maybe there might be because a lot of cultures and religions have like a thing with doll. I'm not as certain with like Old Testament stuff, especially with how these dolls work. Uh, but yeah, I think her mother probably knew he was going to die because when he got captured, that probably would have been on the news and stuff like that. And I think she just kind of assumed like, oh, he's gonna snap or something. Like I just need to get this one thing out of the way first. It's like it's a sure way to save my daughter, but
So yeah, they end up before that, before she goes somewhere, they do end up capturing long legs there and then Nicolas Cage. So you think he kind of plays it just the right amount? Because sometimes we get way too over the top Nicolas Cage. Do you think he kind of
uh,
does the right amount there?
I think it's the right amount, especially with how it's shot. A lot of stuff, especially with how long his hair is and just how kind of like off he looks. Like he looks like he rarely leaves his room. Like he looks like he's just downstairs, like building dolls until he has to go and like find people because he's got like puffy lips. He's got like super pale skin. He's got really greasy hair. Uh, but yeah, his initial scene really freaked me out in the opening of the movie. Uh, but also the scene of him driving in the car, it's like him screaming, kind of like having a breakdown. I can see why some people kind of think that's silly, but I think it's also there to kind of demonstrate of like, oh, this is kind of what like an actual like uh like long term like psychotic serial killer would be like, just awkward and weird.
Uh,
And just not like, oh, he's getting away with it because he's so smart. It's more so he's getting away with it because it's the 90s and uh he's just like he just spends most of his time just being so reclusive. I do wonder if that's why they did this movie in the 90s, because if they did it in modern day, uh, there would be too many cameras and Nicolas Cage would probably be caught like after 2 attempts.
and you see, so the movie kind of you see a little bit of the insight of him and kind of his daily life a little bit every now and then. So he's a fan of glam rock. He's a fan of like T Rex, Lou Reed, Velvet Underground. You see posters of that in his basement there. He makes these dolls. His look is, like he looks like he's got like glam rock makeup on. It's like Kiss,
Yeah.
but they could never wash the makeup off, and they got to be, you know what I mean, 60
Mhm.
something years old there, and they could never just wash the makeup off. You kind of see that there. Um, so I think he plays it the right amount, you know what I mean? Not too over the top, and I don't think he overtakes, Micah Monroe's performance at
Mhm.
all in it, and they balance each other out, I think, very, very well, in
The
the movie.
scene where they're shot together for the first time, the one where they're in that room. That was the first time apparently Micah saw Nicolas Cage, and that was Nicolas Cage's like last day of filming.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I
man, really, they really hid Nicolas Cage from the marketing. I didn't even know he was going to be in this movie until recently.
yeah, I mean, I think that so I think that's pretty also pretty good there that they just didn't rely on, The just Nicolas, "Hey, we got Nicolas Cage in here," like that movie. What was that? The shitty Friday Night at the Friday Night at Freddy was already dead.
Willy's of Wonderland.
Wendy's Wonderland, which that pretty much is all the movie had, was just like, "Hey, we got Nicolas Cage," and he doesn't even talk in the movie.
Yeah.
But here's the scene right here. This is the first time she actually saw him, and her heart rate, kinda goes up here.
Alright, look it up in this roll sound. Can you illustrate this? Thank you. Action.
And she says, "When I walked in and saw Nicolas Cage for the first time as Longlegs, that was a visceral experience I'll never forget." Mike Monroe says, "Great scene."
Yeah, yeah.
See there. So you see that Longlegs, when they capture him, he does his whole thing, tells her the spiel, and he ends up smashing his head on the table, kills himself. And I don't know if that meant like his presence would still be around. I think it's kind of
Mhm.
left like he would still be able to do what he kind of does, maybe just knowing the afterlife there. But
I haven't really seen too many interviews with him about this movie, but I'm very curious if there was like if there was a specific character in the movie that inspired him, like Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lamb. I think it's the easiest comparison, especially with the hair. But yeah, this guy just seems like very otherworldly and just like even when he's caught, there's a very awkward like just body language he has the whole time of like when the police like he's not like that scared. He just raises his hand, but there's something like off about it.
even when you first see him in the movie where it's the flashback sequence, so when he like, squats down and then it's the kind of cuts like that is, I mean, that's really kind
Yeah.
of jumps you there. It's like, damn.
Yeah, is this a long legs? Is that the reference to like the spider, Daddy Long Legs?
I don't know actually. I
Yeah,
don't know
because I
actually.
don't know too much about Daddy Long. Because I don't know if it's like one of those things of like, oh, if you know about the I don't know Mateen or like Kelly Rituals of the Daddy Long Legs, like it spoils this movie or something.
Uh, I don't know. But yeah, you kind of had that there. So the final, so you see where Lee Harkins, you see her mother, and she is going to drop off, I guess, with presumably maybe the last doll, maybe
Mhm.
more there, to the family of Blair Underwood. If you remembered early in the movie, the little girl had a birthday coming up, and Lee Harkins said she would be there. She said, "I'll be there." So she drops off the doll to the Blair Underwood's family, and the actions proceed to play out of the husband and kills the wife. Lee Harkinen ends up killing Blair Underwood. And then her mother ends up trying to finish it off and do the whole ritual process, and then ends up trying to kill the daughter. And that's when Lee Harkinen kills her mother there and saves the child. And she ends up trying to kill the doll and trying to shoot the doll, but she ends up running out of bullets before she can shoot the doll and destroy the doll.
Mhm.
And the movie just cuts
Yeah.
right there.
Well, it cuts after Nicolas Cage gives us one final goodbye.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it does
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Has there ever been a case of a Chekhov's birthday party?
not that I know of. Very good use of the birthday party there. It's like, "Holy shit," you know?
Yeah. You hear that, you're like, oh no.
Uh, Question about how she kinda figured it out. So, she woke up, she got on, because um, the phone was ringing, or she just picked up the phone, and then the
The
voice.
phone was ringing.
Okay. And the voice kinda spoke to her on the phone.
Mhm.
So, was that presumably maybe Nicolas Cage's, like, spirit on the thing? Because he was already dead, right?
I think that might have been either like a spirit or like maybe she's like kind of like vaguely hallucinating at this point, or it could be someone else, but like it could be Blair Underwood's character like speaking like doing like a demonic possession thing. or whatever, because his voice does change a bit when we meet him. So
But why would he have her number? Why would he have her mother's number?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I might have to rewatch this movie again, but
I mean, hey, I mean, good to rewatch it.
yeah,
But
yeah, it was a good movie.
I mean, these aren't. I'm not nitpicking. I'm just,
No, yeah.
I'm just talking about and discussing and things in the movie there. But yeah, so because when Lee Harvey's mom, when she shoots the doll, Allison Ruth is the mother. So when Ruth shoots the doll and the smoke comes out, that's when Lee passes out. She
Mhm.
wakes up in bed in the bed of Longlegs in the basement. Then she crawls out of there. And then the phone rings and then she answers, and then the voice talks to her. I forgot what the voice says.
Mhm.
And then that's when she drives Longlegs' car
Oh
to
God.
and she does actually the same thing Longlegs does when she's in
Yeah.
the car that you saw in the earlier scene.
She's great. Yeah, I love that whole segment of her just realizing, oh, because there is a moment where she says, "Oh, he's at my house," but like her in the basement, then her going up, and it just pours over you the whole scene. Like, not only was he here, this is where he made the dolls, and that's his car. And we've been kind of like helping him in a weird way.
So that was that was kind of strange. Let me play a little bit of the mother here, Allison Witt, in her scene here, because I think she also does a fantastic job. Play a little bit of her.
Will you tell me the honest truth about something?
She kind of
I'll
looks a
try.
bit like Julianne Moore right here. I'm like, I don't know.
Do you still say your prayers? No, Mom. I never said my prayers, never once. They scared me. What's so funny? You're right. No, our prayers don't help us. Prayers don't do a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
I've definitely been to like this house before, though. Like my religious, like some of my religious like cousins or grandparents or uncles. It's like I've been. My grandma and grandpa definitely have this kind of like setup. If we have 100 wallets on the bed, we don't know why.
I mean, and you see that, her mother. It was just her and her mother there together in this big house. And did you like the narr? I felt like the narration didn't really need to be there, where she explains all kind of what happened. I just feel like if you just showed it, it
I
probably would
think,
have.
yeah, I think so as well. But I think it's also just like it kind of like also kind of pushes like all these memories and realizations that Mike is having at the moment. Like it's all just coming back, and just if we have gotten like, well, there wasn't really a narration beforehand, but we do kind of see like uh some flashbacks from her point of view. Like we see a lot of like snakes and stuff like that, and like traditional, like very traditional devil imagery. Uh I kind of take it as like, oh, her memories kind of blocked up, and like now after like just going through all this and the doll being destroyed and Longlegs being dead, that's like everything's just coming back to her, and it's like now she's like she knows what's happening, she knows what her mother has done.
Mm, yeah, yeah, because you do see these kind of random flashes
Mhm.
there, and kind of what it plays with too, of like what's happening, like the scene where she's like alone in her cabin. Is that Longlegs, was he really there at all? Dropping it off and doing this. How did he do that? Was it just he's got all this magic? What is his capabilities of what he can do? Um, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, and
yeah.
the investigation part of it is also really good. A
Oh
piecing everything
yeah, totally.
too. Also,
Criminal Minds esque. Yeah, also very the imagery of this movie. So many of these shots have just been used as posters for the movie, which
like the scene where she's like shocked when she sees her
yeah,
mother there. That's
that's the big, yeah, that's the big one. Also, just the one with the car. That's from the first like 5 minutes of this, where she looks outside and she sees the guy in the car. Well, she sees the car, but she doesn't see the guy, and she sees that in the snow. It's like just really, just striking stuff. That's just might stay with you. The only one I don't like is Nicolas Cage tying the mother down as a poster, because that kind of spoils some of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
People who haven't seen it.
Let me see if I can find that one. He ties them. Let me see. Long legs poster here. Yeah, and it's kind of. I mean, people are like, "Hey, this is kind of it's minimalist, but it's
Mhm.
impressive." Like
Yeah, very.
it's like, "Hey, what is this?" Kind of, it does pique your interest more about it, I think. Um, so these are kind of the various posters that you have for the movie. Um, this one. Usually, I
Yeah,
see these two the most.
yeah, those are the two big ones.
This one that you also see there that plays in the movie. So with the first family, it seemed like the doll spent a longer time there, like
Yeah.
over the course of like maybe some days. It wasn't just like the one day.
Mhm.
So why do you think like he just wanted to accelerate it? He just wanted, or was it just like testing it out to see how it
Maybe,
was?
yeah. I think it might have been one of those things of like it wasn't there to perfection yet. It's like maybe the longer, because he even talked about this with the doll, of like the longer, there's more pieces of me in them out there. So I just assume it was just getting stronger and stronger to the point where now when he brought the doll to the Blair Underwood's family, it just kind of instantly turned them crazy. Because with the one kind of church family with the girl who's in the mental ward, well, he did become the dad did become aggressive afterwards. Like it still took a bit of time. Like it wasn't like snap. He just grabs the axe and kills everyone.
Yeah, because that's because you see some scenes where it's with the family, like they start, I don't know, falling in love with the doll or something, or
Yeah,
and then you see like scenes where the wife is stabbing the doll,
yeah.
and so I was like,
I presume it's just the power of the devil just growing with each example.
okay, yeah. Also, just the perversion of using a nun
Oh
to
yeah.
deliver the evil. Yeah, so you kind of had that kind of go. So was did she just stay the whole time those days and watch?
That's a that's a good point. Maybe I don't know.
Or,
Maybe she just had to. She would just come back to like see the bodies or like see like assume when they were going to like have the kill scene.
yeah, because
But
like when they show the flashback, at least I'm remembering it because the first family, it didn't seem like that was on the day. It seemed like it was more towards the day. Yeah,
yeah,
that's what it seemed like.
yeah, a
Uh,
little. But again, it's a small town area, and we also see when Nicolas Cage's character, well, probably his character, spying on Micah. Uh, we do see that there's like a lot of wood, so there's always like the possibility of her just like standing like not too far away and just kind of like be around and seeing it. So it's like there is the potential of it happening because there's a lot of space in this community.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, people can correct me if correct us if we're wrong there, because yeah, oh, we kind of see that. Yeah. Any issues with you with the movie?
Not a ton. I do think in the middle it kind of drags a bit pacing wise, and there might be a few scenes that go on for too long where it's not like, uh, oh, we can see what's going to happen and stuff like that, or it's more like just again, it just kind of feels like a shot that kind of went on for too long. Like some of the FBI stuff didn't terribly interest me, but overall, still a very strong movie. It may be the best horror movie I've seen this year.
Better than Maxine, better than First Omen, better than Light Night with the Devil.
Yeah, I'd say so. I did really like. I saw the TV Glow those, so yeah, I
I
might have
haven't
to.
finished.
No, yeah, it's pretty good. Well,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it's different, but that's more of like for the metaphor and stuff like that. But
Yeah, I'm halfway through it. I'm like, okay, when is something gonna happen in this?
yeah,
Because I'm at the part where she comes back to the town,
hmm
and so is that when things get good or what?
yeah, man.
Okay,
Yeah,
I gotta watch the other half of it then. This is directed by Osgood Perkins. Osgood Perkins, who's the son of Anthony Perkins, who
yep,
was Norman
Norman
Bates
Bates.
in Psycho. The other movies he directed Gretel and Hansel. Have you ever seen that?
No, but I've heard about it recently.
Yeah.
It's apparently just a kind of like direct modern version of Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah. I saw it. We reviewed it way back when it came out in 2020. It was all right. I thought
Yeah,
it was like,
yeah.
you
I'm
know,
guessing it's the German version with the witch.
yeah.
Okay.
it's closer to the actual original story
Okay.
there.
Yeah, because the technically like original one was like it was a French story, and it had an ogre, and it was the dad who sold the kids instead of the mom.
Um, and so is he kind of with this movie? Is he going to be on your radar of like?
A little, definitely. Yeah, like I'll definitely be open to see like what else he's going to uh kind of take on. Uh yeah, I of course I hope for uh I always hope for like kind of newer horror directors, and I like this especially like kind of take inspiration from older stuff. I do wonder if that's the reason why his stuff is so 60s 70s oriented, because his dad was Anthony Ward. Wait, Anthony Perkins. I don't know why I said word, but yeah, Anthony Perkins, and he probably grew up with like so much of like that older movie kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I would like to see how he branches out, and if he's just going to stay in this genre, or if he'll make a more modern horror movie as of late, or something like something along those lines.
Well, did you see what he said about modern horror movies? Did you see that?
Whoa, what'd he say?
So he says he does not care for modern horror movies and doesn't watch newer horror movies.
Oh.
He said there, and this is a part of a longer quote. He says, on the one hand, I want to identify or atone with the father by going down the same path and representing the good name in the genre in question. And he speaks about his father, Anthony Perkins, there. But then I also have to have a sort of a distaste for it. I wouldn't say I'm someone who likes or dislikes horror movies. I don't see new ones. I have no interest. I'll never see Maxine. I'll never see Pearl. I saw X for reasons. It wasn't on purpose. I don't see contemporary things. They don't interest me at all. That's not to say they aren't great. I'm sure they are great and make a lot of people happy, which is all that really matters.
Yeah, it's totally fair. Like some people, it's just not for them.
It says elaborating further, Perkins talks about what he does and doesn't want from horror. He says, "But I like the horror genre because it's the genre that permits the most innovation and it encourages the most poetry. It's all guessing and grasping at what is essentially unknowable. At least it's what it is for me. If someone dangles a retelling of Jeffrey Dahmer in front of me, I couldn't pass on something harder. It's not interesting to me to see someone pretending to be a serial killer. It has no appeal." It's very base to me. I'd rather watch Todd Browning's Dracula and feel the romanticism and the luxury and the pomp and circumstance and the majesty of what kind of work turns me on. But to see a contemporary Terrifier or things like that, it's the opposite of what I want to be putting into my brain.
Yeah, I guess. I think he's more, because this is kind of true that there isn't a ton of like a lot of more modern horror takes more not human in terms of like, oh, it's so real and like to the touch and all this stuff, or like so complex, but it's more like human as in like it's more the antagonists are more human, like human oriented. It's more plain, it's more everyday, it's more stuff like slasher killers, anything that's like supernatural is minimum. He seems to like more like almost like creature features to a degree, or stuff with like you know uh a higher level supernatural elements, which yeah, I think that's a fine thing to have to want. Yeah, I mean, yeah, horror is like a one of the most subjective genres out there, and yeah. I hope to see more for him in the future. I am curious of like if he's going to set it in modern day, or if everything's going to be kind of be in the past. But
Well, I mean, there's also like people. Robert Eggers, he's like, I'll never do a movie in modern times. I'll always do period pieces. I'll never do a movie in that time period. Speaking about the audience reaction to this, so it has a cinema score of C, which is pretty low for a cinema score. Usually, a movie just has to almost kind of exist, and you know what I mean, to get basically like A or somewhere
Mhm.
around that territory. Then you have Fly Me to the Moon, which released the same week as Long Legs. That got an A minus.
Really,
Uh, that is there, and they see all the movies also with their scores too. Ride or Die, Bad Boys got A minus. Um, so if
I
got
think
an A.
yeah, it might have been more of a. I go into this movie expecting more of a entertaining horror movie like Maxine or something like that. This is entertaining, but it's not as like fun.
Do you want to see some bad movie reviews here on Rotten
Sure.
Tomatoes
Yeah.
audience scores? Let's see what the audience
Hit
had
me.
to say here on. Let's go to a really low one here. This person just says worst movie I've ever seen. There's no real elaboration there.
Nice. I felt
I fell asleep. Enough says this person. That really isn't that exciting. Boring movie, not scary. Way overhyped, not even remotely scary. Such a letdown. One of the worst movies I've ever seen. Nicolas Cage was absolutely terrible. I would give 0 stars if I could. Don't waste your time and money. That's one thing I don't want to say. I mean, I don't want to overhype the movie too much,
that's the thing. Yeah.
because then you got people coming in there like this is the scariest movie ever made, or you know what I mean, and then
You're gonna
people getting
shit your pants.
yeah, it's like I don't want to do that for people. I like it. I think it's a great movie. I want to give it its due because I do like it. But I also
Yeah.
don't want to overhype it and people go in there expecting something like this is gonna change your life. This is
Yeah,
gonna
it's definitely a thing with some horror movies out there. Like that's even happened to me when people's like, "This is revolutionary. It's going to change everything." It's like I really liked it, but it's like and now I'm a bit disappointed because you hyped it up to me so much. That was also kind of like a bit of my issue with Late Night with the Devil, as well as like some other stuff. I was very excited for that movie, and I think I might have hyped myself up a bit too much for it. That's why I was like kind of let down.
This person, let's see. They also gave it half a star here. It was so bad I couldn't help but laugh at the ridiculous acting, or should I say lack of acting. Could have been a good movie if it wasn't made to be so low budget looking. The budget don't waste your time. I think the budget on this was 3 million. I want to say. Let me see what the budget was. I think the budget was 3 million, which is, I mean, if it is, I mean,
Nicolas
hey,
Cage should have been entirely CGI.
what
100 million dollar movie.
let's see here. All Wikipedia says just it's kind of on the lower end here, so it's kind of like less than 10 million. I don't think there's an exact
Yeah.
number of exactly what the budget was. Some reports it's like 3 million, probably a little bit more than that. So
Hey, okay.
uh,
It cleared, which is good. It's always
yeah.
good to see a horror movie like this, especially clear, especially one that might
Uh,
not be for everyone.
and this person says nothing special, 1 star, nothing special at all. The critics overhyped this. I see it was at 100% before, but that has fallen fast. Just a boring movie. Boring, wooden, no character development, extreme foreshadowing, badly acted with monotones, illogical, poorly directed. I bashed my face on the cinema chair in front of me long before Nicolas Cage made the same decision. The one redeeming quality was the T-Rex song over the end credits.
Okay.
So I guess a lot of, I mean, the people with the low, I mean, boring, which I mean, that's kind of a lame kind of, I don't know, lame kind of criticism. They're just boring.
Maybe they heard like this is a horror movie and Nicolas Cage is a serial killer and like the devil's involved. And they were expecting one where Nicolas Cage is a lot more like almost like a sympathy for the devil, or like what was that movie where, or like a movie like Renfield almost, where he's just like out there just killing people like with his bare hands. It's like it's not that kind of movie.
Here's some top critics. We heard from the audience here. Here's some top critics. Adam Naiman, I don't know who that is, but he's from The Ringer. He says, "What's frustrating though, is how more the movie reveals in its own inferior, the more times it gives the viewer to get ahead of the story. With certain capital R revelation telegraphed way too far ahead of schedule." This other person says Oz Perkins' adventure in toxic family dynamics, toxic in a way that results in copious quantities of spilled blood, hits so many of the beats from Silence of the Lambs that some viewers may wonder if it's some kind of supernaturally skewed gloss. There. Another negative review says Longlegs' originality and boldness feel. Oh no, this is a good one. I'm sorry. Horror movies need not only wholly logical explanations, but Longlegs' hurtless, past compelling murkiness and lands in the realm of dull nonsense. Uh, Hardcore obsessives of the horror genre might gorge their hearts out on this, but for the fair weather fan, the search of genuine scares continues.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for just like I don't know, like the average horror movie. I don't want to sound like dismissive, but like if they were thinking of something like I'd say like a very popular mainstream horror kind of guy or like a horror person is something like Jordan Peele because his movies they're like his horror movies they're like fun to watch almost for the most part, but they're not like too overwhelmingly like dour or scary or something like that. And this is a very slow burn movie. Not to say like not to like put the, like knock one down or anything. It's just a different tone. And like Jordan Peele is definitely going to appeal to probably more people out there with just kind of like because his movies do have a comedic element towards them a lot more. This is very dry. It's very slow. Or even like something like I'm trying to think of a recent one. Like I think that's also kind of the reason people are like bummed out about the violent nature. Just like it's just walking. It's like yeah, that's the point. It's a movie from the killer's perspective. It's like you gotta appreciate the cinematography. It's like and you have to pick up on like the background stuff. It's not just like yeah, there's hyper moments of violence, but that's not what the movie is. It's literally in a day of a slasher, and it's pretty boring. But that's why you appreciate stuff like you have to be able to like long scenes and like choreography and stuff like that instead of just like oh what I want him to like. They're expecting like I don't know like Jason Goes to Space, where he's just on a spaceship and he's just like freezing people and smashing their heads in.
So this right now has a Rotten Tomato. It is certified fresh, long legs. It's at 86%. The audience
Nice.
score is 65%. And speaking of Jordan Peele, so just out of curiosity, I did look up Nope. Nope has an audience score of 69, and then a critic score of 83%. Certified fresh.
Okay.
Kind of similar.
Yeah.
Similar.
I actually didn't see Nope. I saw his other 2, 3-ish movies.
Us and Get Out.
Yeah. I saw
then-
and Wendell Wild, which he wrote, but he didn't direct.
Right.
That's as far as it's not a bad movie, but I would probably say that's his weakest movie, Wendell Wild.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I wasn't really.
Yeah.
That came out on Netflix, right?
yeah. Beautiful animation though.
Osgood Perkins has another movie coming out next year in February called The Monkey.
Nice.
So you think there's a lot of pressure on him? What to expect?
I'd say a little, but or even like maybe kind of a. 'Cause did happen a bit with Alex Garland, where people kind of turned on him. It's like, oh, you're up your own head, like you're up your own ass now, and stuff like that. It's like I don't think it's like kind of that level, but I think it's like definitely a level of like, you kind of gotta be. Don't get so enraptured in your own kind of like view of horror movies to think like because from what it sounds like, it doesn't sound like he thinks his horror movies are inherently better because they are set in the past. It just sounds like he's not into like modern stuff, which is fine. But yeah, I'd say there's a moderate amount of pressure on him. But I hope the best for him and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we'll see here. What would be your rating? What would you give Longlegs?
I'd say maybe like a low peak.
Low P?
Yeah, like I really liked it, but yeah, it's just some stuff that's that like I won't say didn't sit right for me, but like some stuff that's just like I feel like that could have been better or stuff like that.
Okay. So I gave it a peak as well. Mike gave it kind of a lower end of a peak.
Mhm.
Still really enjoyed it. Best horror movie of the year to Mike. I'd say best horror movie of the year for me as well. I really liked it a lot. And then the second one best was probably First Omen. I'd probably say First Omen. I really liked First Omen.
It's entertaining, yeah.
So yeah. All right. We're gonna be getting out of here.